Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Penn Vicarage on this Monday morning. Great to see you. Thank you for being with us today, and I hope you had a lovely weekend. And welcome to our Bible reflection for today. And we are approaching the end of the amazing book of Proverbs, and today we're in chapter 26. So, without further ado, Proverbs 26. Here goes. Like snow in summer or rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. Like a sparrow when it's flitting, like a swallow when it's flying, an undeserved curse goes nowhere. A whip for a horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the back of the fools. Do not answer fools according to their folly, or you'll be a fool yourself. Answer fools according to their folly, or they'll be wise in their own eyes. It's like cutting off one's foot and drinking down violence to send a message by a fool. The legs of a disabled person hang limp. So does a proverb in the mouth of a fool. It's like binding a stone in a sling to give honor to a fool. Like a thorn bush brandished by the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Like an archer who wounds everybody is one who hires a passing fool or drunkard. Like a dog that returns to its vomit is a fool who reverts to his folly. Do you see persons wise in their own eyes? There is more hope for fools than for them. The lazy person says, "There's a lion in the road, there's a lion in the streets." As the door turns on its hinges, so does a lazy person in bed. The lazy person buries a hand in the dish and is too tired to bring it out to the mouth. The lazy person is wiser in self-esteem than 7 who can answer discreetly. Like somebody who takes a passing dog by the ears is one who meddles in the quarrel of another. Like a maniac who shoots deadly firebrands and arrows, so is one who deceives a neighbor and says, "I'm only joking." For lack of wood, the fire goes out, and where there's no whisper, quarreling ceases. As charcoal is to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome person for kindling strife. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down into the inner parts of the body. Like the glaze covering an earthen vessel are smooth lips with an evil heart. An enemy dissembles in speaking while harboring deceit within. When an enemy speaks graciously, do not believe it, for there are 7 abominations concealed there within. Though hatred is covered with guile, the enemy's wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and a stone will come back on the one who starts it rolling. A lying tongue hates its victims, and a flattering mouth works ruin. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, here are Proverbs 26. I mean, as I always say, they're always like you have to take one verse at a time, but it does kind of fit neatly, really, into 3 sections. There's verses 1 to 12, which is all about fools. There's verses 13 to 16, which is all about sluggards. And there's verse 17 to the end, which is about mischief making. Now, another thing to point out in the book of Proverbs is apparently the way Hebrew works, the Hebrew doesn't use adjectives. The Hebrew uses similes all the time. So, for example, let's take verse 17. Rather than saying, for example, it's not a good idea, not a good idea to interfere interfere in others' affairs. It says here, like somebody who takes a passing dog by the ears is one who meddles in the quarrel of another. So instead of using sort of adjectives all the time, instead it uses analogies. So sometimes it's like something like that, and it's like that all the way through, the whole book, in fact. And I love it here because some of the language that's used is absolutely fascinating. It really is. It's just so pictorial, like a dog, verse 11, like the dog that returns to its vomit is a fool who reverts to his folly. I love that one. Or verse 27 is another one. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and a stone will come back on the one who starts it rolling, And there's just some of the language used is absolutely fantastic. It really, and it's all the way through. So you've got 3 sections here. You've got some wonderfully pictorial language which demonstrates what he's trying to say very, very well. But also the fact that instead of using sort of adjectives all the time, instead he uses similes. And actually, I think it livens it up, and it's kind of the way Hebrew works, apparently. And this chapter, like all the chapters in Proverbs, is absolutely rammed full of it. So what do we have in these three sections? First, so to say, firstly, we have verses 1 to 12, which is all about fools. And verses 1 and 8 are essentially about the importance of not praising bad behavior. So verse 1, like snow in summer or rain in winter, so honor is not fitting for a fool. And verse 8, it's like binding a stone in a sling to give honor to a fool. So that talks about the importance of not praising bad behavior, of not honoring things which are not right. That's one. Then in verses 7 and 9, you have about teaching, so and being careful not to listen to foolish teaching. So was it like a thorn bird brandished, like a thorn bush brandished by the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the hands of a fool, and so on. So you get that sort of stuff as well. So the importance of not listening to foolish teaching as well. And then this kind of, it feels like a contradiction in verses 4 and 5 when it says, verse 4, do not answer fools according to their folly, or you'll be a fool yourself. Verse 5, answer fools according to their folly, or they'll be wise in their own eyes. And there doesn't look what appears like to be a contradiction here, which apparently makes the book of Proverbs quite controversial with scholars over the years. But I think what he's saying here is, people will come up with foolish arguments, and we have to kind of engage with them. We have to. But it's about the importance of not being brought down to their level, if you see what I mean. So we need to engage with people who talk foolish. Of course we do. Otherwise, if we don't engage with them, then we can't make them wise. On the other hand, we must make sure that we don't get brought down to their level. So that's the important. That's kind of teaching about how we engage with fools. So verses 1 to 12 is all about how to engage with. Is all about fools and foolish people, about the importance of not honouring foolish behaviour, about the importance of not listening to foolish teaching, and also teaches in 4 to 5 how to engage with foolish people, which means that we engage with them, of course, but we don't get ourselves be brought down to their level. Then in verses 13 to 16, we have about the lazy, the sluggard. And again, I think it's fantastic. Firstly, in verse 13, that the lazy person is alarmist. There's a lion in the road. There's a lion in the road, because constantly alarmist all the time. Then in verse 15, I love this one. A lazy person buries a hand in the dish, but's too tired to bring it to his mouth. So he puts his hand to get some food. He's too lazy even to bring it up to his mouth. I just love that. But I think what's also fascinating in verse 16 is about how lazy people here lack self-aware. There's a huge dose of sarcasm here. The lazy person is wiser in self-esteem than 7 who can answer discreetly. They think they're 7 times wiser. Because one of the characteristics of laziness is a lack of self-awareness, and they think they're wiser than 7 wise people here. And there's a huge word of sarcasm in verse 16. It's absolutely brilliant. And then at the end, of course, you have the last few verses, which are all about mischievous behaviour and mischievous talk. That mischievous people interfere. We've got this one, like somebody who takes a passing dog by the ears is one who meddles in the quarrel of another. It's about the importance of meddlesome or unhelpful or mischievous talk actually stirs up trouble. Verses 18 and 19 talks about a badly delivered joke. Like a maniac who shoots deadly firebrands and arrows is one who deceives a neighbour and says, "I'm only joking." So it's sort of they do a nasty thing and they're trying to cover it up with a joke. That's in verse 18 and 19 there. That's another thing too. And then in verse 21 onwards, about how mischievous talk stirs up trouble. An enemy dissembles in speaking whilst harbouring deceit within. And yet at the end, in verse 28, he says how it will all be found out in the end. So he says, I'm sure it's in it somewhere. Yeah, verse 26, I should say. Though hatred is covered with guile, the enemy's wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. So it will come out, all will come out in the wash in the end. So in conclusion, you have this fantastic chapter, which is full of some wonderfully pictorial language, lots of lovely, exciting similes in here, essentially picking up on 3 particular areas Firstly, there is that there's the fools, all about fools, and about not honouring bad behaviour, about not listening to foolish teaching, and about how we need to engage with people who are foolish, but we must make sure that we don't let ourselves brought down to their level. That's verse all about. So 1 to 12 is all about fools. Verse 13 to 16 is all about lazy people, the sluggards, as he calls them, and about their lack of self-awareness, and how they can be so lazy they can even put their hand into the dish but don't bring it to their mouth. I think that's fantastic. And then the last few verses as well, verses 17 to 28, which is all about bad behaviour and about interference and mischief making, about people can watch out for people who interfere in other people's disputes, about people who interfere then try and cover it up with humour, and about the fact that they can stir up trouble, but about in verse 26 that what has done in secret will all come out in the wash in the end. So God will, the truth will out in the end. Prince, I'm not sure I put this very well, but I love chapter 26. It's full of some of the language here is so pictorial and humorous. It's a great read. Read it again at your leisure. Proverbs 26. God bless you. Thanks for watching.